G'day guys, Mackie with the Outer Circle, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host Cat.
Ahoy, ahoy.
And also joining us are two guest stars from over in the good old United States of America. We have Ryan and Scott.
Go ahead, Scott.
Good God. How very awkward. Yeah. Oh, well, if it's high production you're looking for, fucking go elsewhere. Out.
Yeah, no, thanks for being on the show, guys. It was great. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you all next time. So, we've obviously been chatting for a while, and we have had Ryan on a couple of times, but we haven't actually had a chance to get you on, Scott. So, would you like to just take this opportunity to sort of tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, what sort of shows you're involved with, what hobby you're into, if you like long walks on the beach, that kind of thing?
I love long walks on the beach, man. Just not in your country where like sharks and crocodiles will eat me. But no, man. Things are. I've been in the hobby probably 18 years, something like that. When I was a school-age kid, I stumbled across a 40K shop and saw the. I think it was when the Land Raider came out. That was at the very beginning of third edition. So not the two like miniature Proteus Land Raiders that came in a single box, but the big one that was very expensive and has only gotten more expensive with time. That it came out, poster on the mirror or poster on the window, saw it, and there you go. The rest is history. So play only 30K, a little bit of Dark Age with Kimmel, but that's about it, man. And I have World Eaters, Iron Warriors, Iron Hands, and Solar Ox. So I'm a pretty big cynical motherfucker, but other than that, that's about it.
So you haven't got on the Custodes bandwagon and, you know...
No, man. I mean, most of my cynicism, I live in a state called Kentucky, so most of that is eaten up with, like, massive prescription drug abuse, so I don't know that I have, like, the moral depravity for playing Custodes. Just so happens.
Yeah, no, it's pretty down the bottom feeder line, so...
There you
go. So... what is it actually you do in the hobby? Not just like what you collect, but your involvement with communities and events and that kind of thing.
I am a host / drunken liability on a little podcast called Radio Free Isstvan. So if you want to check that out anytime, that's us over there. That's me, Ryan, Michael, and P-hole Derek, and we try to put on a semi-produced show every week and talk about, you know, the latest dumpster fires and fuck ups as they happen. We haven't yet to run out of content, so thanks, G-Tubs.
Do you find that you're a little bit I don't want to say edgy, but you poke the wrong people occasionally like we do?
Yeah, I feel like I might not appeal to all demographics, but you know, I do my best. I do my best to make sure I incite as much as that as possible, because I mean, who doesn't love that? And I don't know, man. I kind of take it on it's like a spiritual quest I'm on to just see how many people I can upset in the smallest amount of time. We're doing pretty good, I like to think.
So basically, Games Workshop's like your peyote.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, what a drug it is, man. What a drug it is.
Yeah, no, fair enough with that, man. So how did you and Ryan get involved in the show together?
So I met Ryan through our local game club. He hosts Circle City Game Club, which is probably 2 hours drive from where I live. I moved here after the military. I was in the military for about 8 years and stationed all over. Well, I ended up in a place called Louisville, Kentucky, which isn't too far from him. And I just kind of heard through word of mouth through various different gaming stores and stuff where I was trying to find pickup games of Heresy that this guy in Indiana held these events and that I should go. And I was kind of on the fence of like, am I going to go to this basement and get raped? But I decided that was an acceptable risk. And I took it, and I didn't get raped initially, but things have just kind of blossomed from there. It's really a beautiful story.
So it was love at first sight, basically. That's what makes it such a beautiful story.
And it's very true, very true.
Yep. Scott came to that first event, and he's been to almost every game night since, consistently. So.
Oh, there you go. So, obviously, you're into 30k. What got you into 30k as opposed to the traditional 40k path?
I always felt like Heresy was like a more boutique, like higher standard community of hobby. So I value like things like painting and story and fluff and good models, and I value that all over, tabletop generalship, which I also, I think it's important to understand the game you're playing and shit. But it was this community that held people to a higher standard, and I wasn't like big on people gluing Christmas tree ornaments to fucking bases and playing with them, which a lot of that goes on in 40k. So I kind of found 30k, and I'm of course was a big fan of the books like most people. So I bought in, and they've had my fucking soul ever since.
So what faction or books are your favorite?
My favorite book, Betrayer, man. I'm painting World Eaters right now.
So
But
you're an Aram
that
Dembski
was-
Virtue Signaler fan, okay.
Oh my god, social justice all the way, man. Ugh.
Fucking
hard right
naggers.
God damn it. Yeah, those guys. Yes, that was the first book I ever read. I thought it was pretty good. From there, I kind of spiraled off with Angel Exterminatus and things like that. All the books I read kind of inspired the armies I did. So Angel Exterminatus, where fucking Perturabo wasn't just a window licker and actually had like the ability to critically think and express himself, that made me want to buy into Iron Warriors.
You didn't like
And,
John French's portrayal of Perturabo, where he's like a mustache twirling, meow, I want to defeat
Yeah, I
you.
was like, is he gonna tie fucking Pollux to a set of railroad tracks or some shit? I don't know, but fortunately that didn't happen. I actually hadn't read that short story at the time I read Angel Exterminatus first, but I don't know, man.
If you go back and read the Crimson Fist after reading Angel Exterminatus, you're like, this guy's bipolar or something. Like, it's such a disconnect between the two personalities. It's jarring.
Fucking bite his tongue or something. I don't know what his deal was. He's like Lurch in that book.
Oh, it's just fucking pathetic. It's just, I don't know, it's that simplistic writing style of, to make the villain a villain, I just need to make him fucking deplorable. Oh, sorry, can I say deplorable, or is Hillary going to get me killed for that?
Well, no guarantees, man. You could accidentally shoot yourself in the back of the head 5 times. We don't know.
Yeah, 22 stab wounds in the back, worst case of suicide I ever saw, right?
Yeah, Jesus.
So, yeah, no, that's the thing. Okay, so, but why, how come 40k didn't pull you in? Was it just because of those exact same reasons that...
The community, man. I'm not a huge fan of the 40k community. I think there are
You just
people...
triggered like fucking about, I don't know, 2,000 people listening to this
That's
thing.
good.
You're gonna have to quick swim up, man, swim up.
Somehow, I
They're
feel
jumping
like
on the comments now. They're coming
might
to say, "What's wrong with the community, man? Everything's good. It's all fucking narrative, bro. Fucking 1v1 me in Skyrim, man. Oh fucking ready, you can't." Nah, they're good.
all the
I love it. I love our
sounds
listeners, man.
like-
They're all good.
that's the one that posed the least amount of physical threat. So,
but by the way, Scott, there's Cat.
Yeah, how are you? But yeah, man, that was kind of the thing. It just didn't align with the way I wanted to spend my time and money and effort. And I'm not a huge fan of sitting down and putting 300 to 500 hours into painting an army, and then the guy I look at across the table has shit that's not painted at all, or not even that he could muster the physical faculties to paint anything without drinking from the pot. But that's it, man. I just got enough of the bullshit. It always was kind of weird to me that those people played 40k when there were much like easier and more accessible avenues to get what they actually enjoyed out of the hobby. Like if you just like playing on a tabletop, you can buy X-Wing. Shit's pre-painted. Do that. You can play
It's very tournament. It's very tournament centric.
Yeah, if
Cheaper.
if you love that shit and you don't give a fuck about the hobby, there's plenty of games out there for you, man. But the well kind of got poisoned for me, and I fucking jumped ship. And I'm glad I did, especially now, because I can look back on that dark, dark time and know I'm never going to have to go back there again. I feel like an addict really must feel when they get out of rehab.
So I take it 8th edition has not won you over?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I made it about 2 pages in, and I got this weird nosebleed thing coming from like both my nose and my cornea, and I just couldn't go any farther. I've never actually played a game of 8th edition, and I think I'm good, man. I know a lot of people are like, hey, you got to play a game. You'll understand it then. I'm like, well, hey, I've been fucking speaking English for like 25 years, and I can read it pretty good, too, despite my accent. And I'm all set, man. I'm fucking good.
Yeah.
If I wanted to spend money on something that I only kind of like, I would just buy my wife another present. You know what I'm saying?
I can perfectly understand that sentiment. I really can. Yeah. It's a funny one because it's an interesting point you made there about if you just want a game that you can just pick it up and just play with what you've got right there with no real thought to it. X-Wing's a great example of that, and 40k, and especially the Horus Heresy, is the exact antithesis of that, where it's a big, slow grow with a lot of complexity. And Age of Sigmar is just like this horrible, Age of fucking Gilliman in the middle is just this horrible amalgam of the two, where it's like you can't quite pick it up, and it's still got some complexity, but it hasn't got enough complexity, and it's just straddling that fucking line in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a violent queef from the most unimaginative minds possible. It is something there to just take advantage of people's like gullibility, and maybe it's not that people are gullible. If they have the expendable income for it, go fucking nuts, man. It's up to you how you do that. Hookers blow this shit. It costs about the same, but I just can't envision why someone like this game is not even really facilitative of that style of play, as opposed to cheaper options where you can buy pre-painted miniatures and play with them on a table right out of the box very simply. And I guarantee those rules are significantly more monitored and vetted than the ones we play with. Why would you even feel drawn to playing this game? And the only thing I can come up with is that people like to take advantage of others. Like, people want to take advantage of the guys that want to play fluffy games and have well-painted armies and somehow assert their, like, superior way of thinking in a way.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know that it's really that complex an answer. I think it's just down to...
Maybe not.
I think it's just down to the sheer mentality of the person playing and what they want out of it. And apparently they want shit. So
yeah,
who am I to judge?
People of all the easier roads we could have drove down, they drove down the worst possible one, and loving every second of it. So go nuts.
The grief people give us, and probably give you guys as well, is that they seem to think that we're trying to take away their hobby from them. We're not. We're not saying you can't play it and enjoy it. Go do that. It's not for us.
Yeah, and I can't imagine why anyone would ever listen to us anyway. Like, if you don't give a fuck and you love 8th edition 40k and it's your jam, don't listen to us. That's not what we're about. Go find someone else to listen to and enjoy that is enthusiastic about that. But if you're here, you're a dirty little girl and you secretly want us to hit you. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, people need to know what they're getting into, don't they? Like, you don't come on our show to hear positive things about Games Workshop. No. And yet, down in the comments on nearly every video is some dude going, "Oh, you guys just fucking whinge." It's like, really? Really?
That's right, man.
Well, once GW does something good, we'll let you know.
You're providing a therapeutic experience for those people. Cause
they made the Cowpox one. I love that box set. Let's give them credit for that.
Yeah, but we've given them credit and compliments where they've earned it, but then they I feel like the abused wife, going back to like the alcoholic abusive husband, and that's Games Workshop. They're like, Oh, nah, babe, I won't hurt you again. I won't hurt you again. You know, like, here's some Kelth box. How good value is this? And you're like, oh, yeah, that is pretty good value. And they're like, yeah, you want to buy the fucking minis maybe separately? Yeah, that'll be 4 times the fucking cost, you piece of shit. And then they just start kicking me and, like, jamming
You
my
old
head in the
fat
fucking
bitch.
fridge door. They're like, you're fucking ugly. You know, you're a piece of shit. You're fat. You put on weight. You're fat. And they're just
You
beating the shit
ruined
out of
my
me.
life.
Please, Games Workshop, please. I bought the products. Why don't you love me? They're like, buy more, you piece of shit. And then you keep going back to them, and they keep abusing you. And then they'll do like one nice thing. They're like, oh yeah, sorry, I stuck your head in the fridge and then repeatedly closed the door on it last night because I didn't like the tuna casserole you cooked for dinner. But like, I got you a little present to make you feel better. And then everyone's just like, oh, aren't they sweet? And that's what happened with Games Workshop. They're like, yeah, we did this one nice fucking thing. Like, we're going to bring back specialist games. And everyone's like, oh, they're a completely different company now. They're just so fucking good now. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. It takes a long time.
It's like this. You appreciate the effort, but I also, more than that, appreciate good results. Like, and if the result's not good, what the fuck? Like, I'm not just gonna be excited that you showed up and tried.
Yeah, it's like every time they release a bad codex or something like that, there's always that group that turns around and goes, well, be thankful you got anything at all. It's like, imagine if...
Thanks, man.
Imagine if, like, you have sex with a beautiful woman and then you find out, like, she's got AIDS and a bunch of other STDs and you're now fucked for life. And people be like, well, just be thankful you got the fucking root, man. Like, there's no need to bitch about it. Just, walk off the cancer.
I feel like Joseph Stalin probably said that to some Ukrainian farmers in the late 30s. Just be glad you had weed at all at one point.
Yeah.
Enjoy winter. Make a fucking snowman.
on the wrong end of a Mosin Nagant rifle.
Right.
Yes, you have no farm now, but, look on bright side. There is accommodation in Gulag, so...
There you go.
No need to complain.
We'll feed you up there, other prisoners, but we'll feed you there.
So, what are you currently working on, Scott?
I'm painting World Eater. So in book 6, there was a paint scheme. They posted like color plates of the bot World Eaters that are red and white. Like they're kind of starting to go down the fucking dark path. And I really like that color scheme. And it's been a while since I've gotten to a place in life where I can actually sit down and work on a project to this scale, but I'm cracking away at it. Usually I post hobby update pictures on our Facebook page over at Radio Free Isstvan. I knocked out 2 squads of vets, 2 10-man squads of vets and a delegatus, and I am currently painting a World Eater.
Lazy Heresy.
Contemptor. Yeah, Lazy Heresy. Fucking, it only took me
clear basing the lot, are you?
Paint those. So that's what I'm doing, man. Working on those guys. I really like the paint scheme. I think it's coming out pretty nice. I'm doing a slow grow league here locally, like a little campaign that only grows 250 points every 2 weeks, and I'm trying to pace myself and give everything its due diligence so it comes out to be as good as it can be.
No, it sounds like a good idea. Ryan, what have you been working on lately? I saw you put up some pictures of some lovely tanks.
Yep, that's what I'm doing. Actually, as we're doing this right now, I'm doing 3 tanks at once. I'm doing a Rhino, a Scorpius Whirlwind, and a standard Vindicator. They're all the Demios pattern chassis. So, just doing some more tanks. I got these 3 tanks to do, and then I'm going to start on my infantry for my Death Guard.
You're not doing some Lazy Heresy sort of thing where you just use the 40k tanks with the old 30k paint job? And it's okay because you put a 30k gunner on top?
No, I did that with my Blood Angels, but it just really depends on what I'm... Because to be honest, depending on the Predator, I actually like the Mars pattern, if you're just going to do the autocannon turret, I think the Mars pattern just looks better, personally. I don't really like the Demios one. I'm not a fan. I'm going to actually get some for my Death Guard and run them just so they match the other Demios tanks. But my Blood Angel, because you can swap them for the twin assault cannons, just for ease of conversion, I bought the ball ones, which the hull looks slightly different anyway. It's got the different front end on it. It looks kind of cool. It's unique to Blood Angels, and it was just way easier and cheaper to convert. So my Predators in that are the Mars pattern ones, but I like all my Rhinos and things like that. I tried to do the Demios ones. I'd like them a little better, and they, like you said, they fit Heresy a little bit more.
What is your favorite 30K tank design? Is it the Plasma Sakaran?
No. My favorite Heresy tank is just the standard Sakaran battle tank.
About yourself, Scott?
Mine favorite tank, the Cerberus Heavy Tank Destroyer, man. It is pure shit, but I just like that thing. It's really
not
cool.
Not too bad. They improved it. It's not too bad now.
Yeah, it'll get you by, but I think that's my favorite one.
About you, Kat, do you have a favorite 30K tank?
Oh, I'm so fucking hungover, man. I'm gonna throw up. But what are we doing? Yeah, 30K tank. Nah, fuck that. Infantry's where it's at, man. Fuck armor. Fuck armor. It's fucking heavy weapons shit on armor, bro. Fuck that.
By the way, I said 30K tank, and you said a super heavy tank, and that's not technically a tank because reasons. So we're gonna have to disqualify your answer, Scott.
God damn. Okay.
I'm just working off community logic here.
Let's go with the Mars Alpha Pattern Lehman Russ Vanquisher. That's probably my favorite one. It's like of a standard template size tank. I play Solar Rock, so I got a few of those kicking around. They don't do much, but they look good while they're doing nothing.
Yeah, no. Good choices, good solid choices. I think mine's probably the Sikaran Venator.
There you have it.
I don't know, something I like about that extra heavy bolter up on top. I like that little pintle.
Yeah, it's on like a crow system mount kind of looking thing. Looks pretty dope.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like real life armor and the way like real life tank destroyers are set up. So
yep.
I got my weaknesses. I freely admit them. So the whole time we've been recording, things have been a little bit quiet on Cat's end, apart from like one outburst, because Cat's been filling out his have your say with the big community survey. So let's just talk about the idea in the first place of Games Workshop putting out a survey. Does anyone else find that crazy that they actually did that?
No. So here's the thing, like, I can't tell... See, because people always tried to say, well, they're new and different, and they've reopened up their Facebook page and all that. But for me, this is the first time that they've actually, in my opinion, asked and for legitimate feedback. Now, I don't know if they'll actually act on it. But, like, in the past, like with I don't know if you guys remember when they did the FAQ for 7th edition, it flat said, we don't want your opinion on our answers. These are the answers. We don't want you. We don't give a shit whether you like them or not. We just want you to know. We just want to know if if the way we've worded the answers are clear enough for you to understand. And then, like, also on their Facebook, they basically just dictate things at you. They don't actually, like. Some people, I think that that's interaction. I don't really think, like, to go, here's our new product and just fucking spam you with advertising. I don't really call that interaction. But that might just be me. So this is the first time that I feel like they reached out and actually asked for legit, hey, tell us what you think. Unless I'm missing something. I mean, to be honest, I'm not on there all the time. Like, I don't like their page or what. Typically when I get something from them, it's one of our patron guys or just a friend or whatever, like, shares it with me on
Don't
Facebook.
you lie to us. You love that Facebook page. You can't get enough, man. You share your models over there. I see it. See it all the time.
Yeah.
Big fan of Billy the Intern, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Naturally.
So,
Well, I don't have, like...
If he's still an intern by now, they're really fucking that guy. I just want to say, because he does a lot of
No,
haphazard work.
he's too much of a corporate risk
I-
to move up the fucking food chain because of his addiction problem. Like, his substance abuse is what's holding him back. Like, if he cleaned himself up, I'm sure he'd probably fucking become head writer in a week. It's not like anyone else there has writing experience, because judging by the last few releases, nobody knows how to fucking write at that company.
I mean, words
I
are
don't
hard.
play any mainstream Games Workshop games. The only Games Workshop game I play is Heresy. So I mean, like the quote unquote 40K community doesn't. I don't really give a shit what they got going on. 99.9% of the time.
Yep.
See, I had a couple of things I said to them in the survey, but the community interaction's piss poor. And one of the most recent things that sort of pissed me off was, well, there was two things. The first was the Citadel miniatures. What counts as a Citadel miniature? When I think it was Ty went out to them and he was like, you know, your Armies on Parade says you can enter Citadel miniatures, and it's a thing for Citadel miniatures. Aren't Forge World miniatures Citadel miniatures? And I just feel like I said Citadel miniatures like 8 times fast, and my tongue feels retarded. But Ty said that to them. The community's like, oh, you know, we'll get back to you on that. And it's like, wait, what? Don't you guys work in the same fucking office? Or are they like the community manager's just some fat dude on compo at home who sits there at his computer and just fucking types messages back on social media? Like, if you're in the same fucking office, just go around to a couple of departments and ask some questions. Like, any real business will let you do that. If, like, you need to ask a manager something, go do it. And then when you get a fucking answer to a question like that, maybe write it down somewhere. Like, that was one of my big gripes I pointed out in my survey responses was they'll answer the same fucking question 6 different ways. It's like, just answer it properly once and then write it down and put it up in an FAQ or anything like that, and then people won't have to keep coming back to you for it. Like, that's the best way to have your living document. Don't change the rules every 2 fucking weeks like they are with 8th edition. Just have a fucking FAQ sheet on your website, and just every time someone asks a question and gets an answer, instead of writing the answer back to them in an email, put it into that fucking FAQ. It will take it literally the same time. And then it's fucking done. It's dusted. You don't have to come back to it. Nobody has to mail you a cake. And then a different department won't eat the cake. So...
Fucking Blood Bowl guys eat our cake again? God damn.
Was it even the Blood Bowl
Whoever's
guys?
making the fucking goat sleds for Lord of the Rings eats our cake? Jesus.
No, I don't know who. We were told that it got spread around the office, but none of the Forge World guys ever saw it.
Of course. Naturally.
And then they tried to use the excuse that because it was a gift and they're a corporation, they can't accept gifts. So it's their policy to, like...
Eat it and tell us to fuck off? Is that...
Yeah, well, no, you know, like...
It's a sick policy, man.
What would happen if you sent them like a key of crack cocaine? Would they just snort away the evidence?
I could actually get behind that policy, to be honest. That seems like a good place to handle this.
Yeah, man, it was hard coming up with these FAQs, but look, we can't accept corporate gifts, so we had to dispose of the evidence. Yeah, all fucking dodgy. So, I actually wrote down, I'm just pulling it up on my fucking phone now, some of my answers on that survey. So first of all, what did you guys think of the survey and the questions it asked? Were they relevant? Do you think that they were asking the right questions for the community, or do you think they could have worded them better?
So I felt like some were on point, and then it felt like a mix of like random ones, like where it's like you could tell like somebody's trying to justify their job, sneak that question in there, type of thing. like fairly random. And then I felt like some of them were, you know, fairly relevant to like actual market research. I don't know if you guys remember it, but back when they had one of their like public meeting things, they asked about like somebody basically doing research to see what your customers like or whatever, and they flat said, we don't do any market research.
Yes, I do remember that.
The CEO. So, I mean, maybe this is like, you know, maybe this is spawned from that, maybe?
Scott?
Well, I had kind of a perplexing thought about it. I think mostly it was directed at, like, the games they give a shit about, like 40K and Age of Sigmar and things like that. And they just throw in heresy, like token heresy questions because they really don't give a shit about us. And I kind of love that because the less attention they pay to us, the less likely they are to go in and fuck it all up. Because it's not like 40K where it's a community that was like established by tournaments and tournament organizers and companies that have an invested interest in seeing Games Workshop succeed. It's a community that was established by guys like you and Tim and Michael who put in the time and effort to hang out with their friends and make this as enjoyable as possible. So I kind of like the fact that the questions seemed a little out of touch with our community, because the farther away we are from them and the farther out of sight we are from them, we're out of mind. They can't touch anything. They can't touch our game and fuck it up. So,
yeah, I don't know. It's this weird thing where they're like, it's almost like they want that positive reinforcement and affirmation of what they've achieved. Where they're like, look, we threw our eggs in this fucking Age of Sigma / 40K 8th edition basket. Please tell us we made the right decision. And that's just the vibe I got from the way they asked the questions. Cause it's all about, do you play this game system? What other game systems do you play? But it was like it didn't really give you many options of what other game systems. Like it didn't ask you about any of the outdated systems or the systems they don't support. It literally only wanted to know about the systems they're running right fucking now this day.
Well, they did have another option where you could fill it in, and I can tell you I put BFG and Gorka Morka in a lot of those.
I put in a lot of fucking answers as well, but it's like that shouldn't be an other question. That should have been here's all our games, because that's a good way of gauging without having to read people's feedback. You can just say, okay, we got X amount of ticks for Mordheim, or X amount of ticks for BFG. They're the games that obviously have some sort of community support. And, that would be a great way of getting your feedback. But instead, I guess typing that extra couple of boxes in was too hard.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, one of the questions they asked, I don't know if you guys will remember your responses, but do your best. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and we'll give some of our answers. And these are questions off the survey. I may have paraphrased the questions themselves, but the idea behind the question is there, obviously. So one of the questions was, what do you like about Games Workshop and its games? Who would like to take a stab at that one?
Go ahead, Scott.
Ooh. I think I liked that Heresy was a separate game system. I don't remember if that was a response to this specific question or not, but that's a tough question to ask. I like some of the models in the aesthetic, in the fluff, but I don't like others because quality varies from one unit to the next so drastically. Like if you look at, for instance, say the Legion specific Contemptors and how detailed they are and how good they look, and then you look at those Varangiry fucking Terminators that are ridiculous and have bananas for cloaks, there's a huge quality gap between those two products. So I don't want to be the guy who's like, yeah, I love your products because I do love some of them, but I don't feel like I'm sending an accurate message because I don't love them all. So
you've answered very much like I have with basically hiding a negative in with a positive.
Right.
So
yeah, I would
like a backhanded compliment.
Right. Yeah. It's not that I guess I don't appreciate the Heresy and them putting out new models. Of course I do. And I reflect that not in like positive answers on the internet. I reflect it by buying their product. Which is the only thing they give a shit about. But if you really care about the feedback I have to offer, I'm going to have to offer it objectively. And I don't believe everything you do is created equal. So saying, what do you like about, or do you like the direction we're headed or anything like that? I think that's an answer that has a built-in kind of scapegoat in it, I guess.
Yeah, no, fair enough, man. Kat, have you answered that question yet? Are you still alive? In fact?
Kind of. What was the question again?
What do you like about them and their hobby?
30 seconds ago. Fuck, I shit on them. Something chronic. I said, I think I said something along the lines of, I don't like 40K anymore. You made it Grim Derp. It's now World of Warcraft, Marvel Universe shit. But at least we have Heresy to go back to for now, or something along the lines of that. That was, yeah.
Yeah, no, blunt to the point. Ryan.
I put that the thing that I like the thing that I think that really is the perpetual engine that keeps them going is that the game has such a deep amount of lore. Like, there's just so much lore and story. It's like, for one person to sit and go through all of it, it's really super immersive and whatever. Now, I did put a caveat in there right after I said that says, keep in mind, this is the lore that you constantly are shitting on and fucking with going forward. Like, every day that I see that you're destroying this. So while I do like this, I think it's the best thing, you're actively destroying it in my eyes with what you're doing with the current fluff. And then I also put that the other positive, like, that they have, like, if you're going to play Games Workshop game system, you have to admit that they do have the largest market saturation for a miniatures game.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you go to a game store and you want to play a miniatures game, it's not a bad idea to pick a Games Workshop game, because it's going to allow you to get, you're going to have easy access to a larger community than you would other game systems currently. Now, I feel like other games are obviously gaining traction, whatever, but I mean, I'm just being honest about it. If you go to a game store, your odds of getting in a 40K game are way higher than they are of getting like a game of Dark Age in, even though I think Dark Age is 20 times the better game than 40K right now. It doesn't, I mean, I'm just being honest about it.
Yeah, no, that's actually mirrors what I said to them. I said, your lore and stories, as established in the past, before your corporate shills decided to ignore canon and to just rewrite the fluff to suit whatever is easiest for them, rather than what is best for the hobby. So, yeah, I was pretty succinct and very backhanded in that compliment, because you're right, their lore is fucking fantastic. But every time they change it, they're not changes because it's necessarily what's best for that lore. It's just because they're like, well, fuck, we wrote ourselves into a corner and we want to release new kits. And this is the fucking tackiest way we can do it, but let's just do it because it's easy.
I feel like a lot of the things they write are to cater to like some younger consumer base. But the thing is, our age group and our consumer base are the only people who can actually afford to play this game. So I don't know why necessarily they're catering to like kids in a way to try to bring them into the hobby when they can't independently purchase anything.
The thing is, though, we were kids when we got into this hobby.
It's like Gucci making He-Man underwear.
Right.
I don't get it. That would make sense. That's not your target market.
But we were all kids when we got into this hobby. That's
right.
The funny thing. Like, we got into this lore when it was super fucking grimdark. Like,
and I'm in the mid-90s. I'm in no way opposed to like the lore growing and evolving and different storylines coming out, but what I am opposed to is that happening in a shitty way. And I'm not going to be the guy who sits on the sidelines and is just happy to be there and is just like, oh great, they're moving the storyline forward. They're doing it in a way that doesn't appeal to, I assume, a fairly large number of people. There's either people who give a fuck about the story and lore and the hobby and are upset, or people who don't give a fuck but will ride and die for the way GW is doing things because they're just happy to have people to beat up on it. And I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough, man. All right. Here's a question. What don't you like?
I'll go first with this one. This was easy for me because I just linked them to our YouTube channel. I said, here's a list. Check it out. And, yeah, good luck with that, J-Dub. What about you, lads? What about...
Go ahead, Scott.
I think my number one issue was pricing. I tried to look at everything like... I understand that lore and aesthetic and game story is like my subjective taste. I get that. But the one thing that is not subjective is pricing. And this is an incredibly expensive hobby. And for the aesthetic you've chosen and the people you've chosen to appeal to, it doesn't make any sense that the price you're putting forward. So if you're appealing to kids, how are you charging me what used to be $50 for a Land Raider is now $75? In Australia, is probably $986 or some fucking insane, unreal number at this
Ooh,
point.
a discount.
Yeah. I think pricing is probably the number one issue, man. If they really want to, if they're really concerned about looking at the accessibility of their game, you got to start at the price point. It is very, very expensive. I think I would assume maybe a Mark 7 tactical squad is probably $40, $50 now. And now that's being retrograded for Primaris Marines, which are probably $75 for a box of 10. So
They don't sell in boxes of 10. I think they're the same box as an old tactical squad, but you get 5.
oh, good. Okay. Clever.
I'm sure
So
Macca could sell it.
clever
I don't know.
girl.
I've never really looked at it.
No, me neither. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know what's up with the price. I don't know how that's either it's they're not selling in enough volume that they have to make something that expensive, or maybe there's some kind of craze or worrisome buying from people buying stuff that since eighth edition has come out. But it just seems very off base with me. I don't even know any other miniature companies that make models that charge that. Like, I'm sure some do, but primarily anyone that is successful, that seems like an outrageous amount of money to pay for units.
The difference
if you're
is
gonna
materials. Like, there are companies that will charge that much, but they're like all metal. At
right,
that price
and
point.
you don't need multiples of the same kit out of most of those companies. Where like say Primaris Marines, you would need 2 boxes of 5 to make a squad of 10, if that's what you wanted to run. So you're going to have to pay the premium for what used to be 10 guys. I don't get it, man. I don't understand how a game like a science fiction game where you clearly have chosen an aesthetic since 8th edition came out that appeals to kids, but you're charging prices that only adults can afford who don't like that fucking aesthetic.
Well, regarding pricing, I mean, because I was having a big debate with some fuckwits last night about pricing. Sorry, I meant conscientious objectors or something like that. Politically friendly talk. And they were like, oh, like Games Workshop's making all this money, the share prices are going up, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah. I call it the apples approach. I've said it before on the channel, but obviously not everyone listening is familiar with it off the top of their heads. And the idea is, like, imagine Games Workshop started, like, say, I'm just going to pluck numbers out of the air for the purposes of this bullshit, but let's pretend they started selling their kits in 1990 for $1 each. They sell 100 kits a day, and they therefore get $100. And that $100 covers all their wages, expenses, and they make a little bit of profit on the side, right? That's great. But eventually, material prices go up, inflation, all that kind of thing. They say, look, we've got to increase our prices to $2 per kit. And the fans are like, yeah, that's fair. I can understand that. The economy moves forward. Making models is probably a very expensive thing. So they still sell that 100 kits a day. The fans don't mind that small price increase. Now, $2 a day, they're selling $200 worth of kits, and they're like, this is fucking great. Then someone gets a bit greedy, and they say, fuck, let's just increase the price to $3 a day. That's not that much more. So it's only half of what the last price rise was, right, in comparison. But then only half the people buy the kits, because they're like, this is just getting too expensive for me. So they sell only 50 of those kits. Now they've only made $150. And it's like, oh, fuck, what do we do? I know, we'll raise prices again. If we raise them to $4 a day, we'll make our money plus some. So they raise the prices to $4 a day, and now they're only selling 25 of those kits. All of a sudden, they're only making $100, so they're back to where they started when they're only selling the kits at $1 a day. And that's Games Workshop. They just kept upping the prices to try and counter for the people leaving the hobby. Because I don't think the hobby is growing anywhere near as fast as it used to. Because there used to be way more stores with way more staff, or it felt like more stores, more stockists, that kind of thing. And now they've got competition. You got Bolt Action, you got X-Wing, you've got Dark Age, Song of Ice and Fire, whatever. All these different games are out there. A lot of them tread the same ground. Like Mantic, for example, has basically the only way you're going to play the old Warhammer Fantasy is to play Kings of War. And,
which I do.
Yeah, and these kits are out there. And what's worse is that like Mantic, Kings of War, for example, they make a kit of zombies. It's about a 10-year-old sculpt now, but that sculpt costs way less than the Games Workshop's box of zombies. And Games Workshop's sculpt is over 20 years old and has those mid-90s proportions where like hands and heads are too big for the bodies. And Games Workshop, though, is selling it at a way higher price. And people want to tell me, oh, no, that's because you're getting the higher quality. Fucking what? And that's a situation we're in for prices, where because they fucked people around and people left the hobby, and, you know, there's only so many people who can afford the hobby. Those who can afford it, they've just upped the prices to get as much money as possible. And that's what's keeping them afloat, is that really high margin on every box. So, sorry if that's a lot of financial talk for people, but that's that in a nutshell.
Right on. Makes sense, man. I mean, yep, it is what it is. You know, I think you have a much better grasp of it than I do, but I mean, I think that's very logical. And I don't know. I mean, I know brands typically tend to function off of, you know, their namesake, and this is a Games Workshop kit, so you expect higher quality. But I think if they really care about their customer base, you know, they've got to learn to be objective with themselves and about the product they're putting out, hopefully.
Well, when you look at it, it's very easy. Like, people will say, where's your research to back this? It's very easy. Because all you do is you look at, okay, what are the new kits coming out and what's their price point? The price point is X amount higher in dollars. And you should be seeing their sales, if they're growing as a company and really shipping more product, all of their money they bring in each year, you should see quite a bit of growth. Like a fucking ridiculous amount of growth in their like gross fucking profit, or their gross margin, sorry. But you're not seeing that. What you're seeing is growth, but it's not that great. And that's telling me that they're shipping less product, but they're shipping products that are more expensive in that less product. And that's what's keeping the profit going up. And it's very easy to tell.
Yeah, and I guess time will tell if that's sustainable or not, but I'd wager it probably won't be, you know?
Well, I think that's exactly why this survey exists, because they're trying to figure out, you know, what direction are things moving in. Because for so long they shut their ears off, and they could afford to not listen to the community, because where were people going to go? There weren't really that many alternatives. Now it's a completely different marketplace, and they fucking know it.
Yep.
So Ryan, what did you say you didn't like?
Well, I came at it from heresy centric because I don't, you know, play, you know, 40K anymore. But you know, I put that I don't like that they, you know, have really fucked with the lore and all that stuff. And then for specific things, I put that I don't appreciate at all, being from a non-VAT country and having to pay VAT on all the Forge World products that I order, which I think we've talked about on our show before. A lot of people don't like to listen or whatever, or people that aren't in the UK maybe don't understand. But the thing is, like, when you get on a Forge World site in the US, you're basically paying a 19% markup that's supposed to go to VAT tax, which if I lived in the UK, that would, you know, pay for whatever, road, you know, social services, however their government spends it. I don't know. I'm not a UK citizen, so I don't know, but it is tax money. If I live in the US and I'm paying you 19% tax, I don't get anything out of that. That's not going to my government. So I don't see anything out of that other than I'm essentially paying 19% more than a UK citizen would. And then it really became a big issue so before they used to not charge, because the US, the way it works here, if you have a product that's $1, when you go and it says $1 on the shelf, that's what you pay. But when you get to the register, you ring it up, they add all state and local taxes at the register. It's not on the product on the shelf. So if a Coke is $1, here in Indiana, we have a 7% sales tax. So when I go up and ring it at the register, even though it was $1 on the shelf, I'm going to pay $1.07 at the register. Well, the thing is, you have to pay state sales tax if a store has a location in your state, even if you order online. So, let's say, Macca, you had a business in Pennsylvania, and that was your only location, and it was in Pennsylvania, and I bought for your business online. I don't pay any sales tax because I'm not from that state, and you don't have a store in my state. But if I buy from Amazon online, because Amazon has locations all over the U.S., even though I'm buying it online, I still have to pay sales tax. Well, the problem is Forge World gets classified as Games Workshop, even though I can't buy Forge World product at a Games Workshop store. It's just not available, so I have to order it online. But because of that, I have to pay a 7% sales tax on top of already paying a 19% markup over what they've deemed an acceptable margin. And I don't think that's the other thing that people understand. If they want to make 100 pounds, they basically price it at 100 pounds and then add 19% to their price online. So when somebody pays it, they get their 100 pounds and then they send that 19% off to the government. Well, so they're obviously comfortable with making the 100 pounds. That's what, because I mean, they're not going to keep that money if a UK citizen buys it. So the problem is when I buy it in the US, I pay that additional money even though I'm not a UK citizen, and then I pay 7% on top of that, so I'm paying a tax on a tax, and one of the taxes isn't even, I'm not even from there. It doesn't benefit me at all.
Yep.
And I would honestly like to know, are they paying that money to, like, when they sell something to the U.S., do they send that tax money onto the British government, even though I'm not a British citizen, or do they just pocket it? They won't answer my question. I've asked them like 3 times.
Well, this is one of those things I was talking about before, where when you ask hard questions, you do not get answers. They're notorious for that on their live streams. They'll do
put that in.
I bought stuff from the UK before, and when I go to checkout, it'll say all prices includes VAT or whatever on the website. But then when I go to checkout and put in my address in the US, it just automatically takes the VAT out. So then when I ring up, I don't pay the VAT. Like I bought stuff from the UK that does that. Also, if I flew to the UK and walked into Warhammer World and bought, a Spartan. A Spartan's roughly 100 pounds. I could request a form, and they would give me this government tax form, and I would fill that out, and they would fill part of it out, and I would take my receipt, and then when I got to the airport, I could turn it in at the customs office and get my VAT tax back. So if I can do that by being there in person, why won't they just let me fill that out online?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. That is one of those very funky things where someone somewhere is not doing their job right. That's all it comes down to. It's just something that it's not a problem for them because they don't lose money. If they lost money, it would be a completely different situation.
And if they're pocketing the extra 19% because they don't need to send it on, because why would the government? I mean, I'm not a UK citizen, so the government doesn't care if they're collecting that tax money, as far as I know. I mean, I don't know how their government structure works. I know in the US, once again, if somebody from Pennsylvania bought a product from me and I have a store in Indiana, I could charge them sales tax, but I don't have to send it on to the state government because they're not a citizen of the state. Now, if I got caught doing that, I would go to jail because it's illegal, because I'm, ripping people off, mail fraud or whatever. You know what I mean? But I don't know how it works over there. I mean, I just, regardless of how it works, I mean, you can't tell me that's not shady as fuck.
Yeah. Well, that's right. It's like one of the big things people like to tell us about Australian pricing is that, it's that high because of your guys' taxes. Like, our tax is 10%. 10% flat tax in Australia for GST, and then there's like your import tariffs. But it only works out to be maybe 15% of the cost. And it's like, that's not on top of the British price for conversion. That, legally you would have to bring a kit in, take 20% off to remove the VAT, and then you'd add the 15% on. And that would be the correct price, which in theory would make Australian Warhammer cheaper. And then all these different people sort of get on there. Like last night, all these fuck knuckles come out, all the scientific geniuses online, and say things like, "Oh, but you know, you guys earn more. So fucking what? We don't charge people based on their earning capacity." Like that would be, imagine go down the supermarket and it's like, "What? Oh, hi Greg, you earn 55,000 a year. Well, your bottle of water is $1.20, and oh, sorry Stephen, you earn 56,000 a year, so your bottle of water is $1.30." That's not
Right.
how.
I
economics
disagree.
work.
I think it kind of does. If you increase the fucking minimum wage, or if there's an average
Now,
wage in an area,
that's a
people are
different.
gonna fucking charge more money
That's a different
for a
argument
product.
though,
because
because
it's just not gonna move product,
your
and that's
your
they can do that.
expenses to pay your staff increase, but what your consumers earn should not is not a factor based on what you can charge for your product. You can charge to cover your costs and make a profit, but there is a cut-off point where it's egregious, and that's the difference. And that's not what people talk about. People often talk about, "Oh, you guys earn more money." It's like, no, you can say, "All right, we've got to charge more because our staff wages are higher." Okay, that's a fair call. But then, how much higher are they? Oh, 3 or 4%? Well, okay, add 3 or 4% to the cost of the box, not fucking 30. So that's the difference. By the way, my answer, I don't like your monopose characters. You're filthy and unjustifiable. And I don't like your filthy and unjustifiable pricing in our region. So yeah, I think everyone hates price. That's the big thing.
Yeah, if it's a thing over here, it's amplified times 10 for you guys. Have a lot more of that exploitation going on. Certainly.
Actually, I think we figured it up. We got fucked harder than anybody on Necromunda here in the U.S.
Well, maybe they're just trying to get back at you when you went to war with them for the 3% fucking tax increase for businesses. Now they're just like trying to fucking sneakily underhand you, you know? Like, take this, you damn Yanks.
Nah, man.
And try and get back at you.
You know what they're
One
doing, Cat?
GW figure at a time. What's that?
They're playing the long game. You notice that Prince Harry just got engaged to an American
An
chick?
American.
Yeah, if they have a kid, that kid can both run for President of the United States and potential King of England.
I've heard that, but what fucking... Unless I heard that New York and a couple of other states are still behind enemy lines, I guess you could say. Like, they're still pretty pro monarchs or something. So I guess they might vote for him, but I don't know. You're gonna have a round 2?
I don't know, man. After that last election where it was like, no matter what happens, you lose. Like, anything's got to be an upgrade.
I suppose.
So
They're insulting the dear leader, Scott. No, I'm just...
Is this possible future monarch's named Gilliman? So you're gonna put Sanguinus on his fucking cock and spin it around, and Sanguinus' dead corpse and spin it around and kill all the...
Oh no, it's much worse than Gilliman. It's a Windsor.
Oh,
So the House of Windsor.
If I don't get
Pete?
Games Workshop hero, I'll just run for US president. Then that'll be my next thing.
You
I know
can't,
I'm gonna be
yeah.
born there and shit like that. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, okay. So did fucking Obama. How'd that turn out, mate? Boom, boom, boom.
All right.
So-
Another question that was asked was, did you participate in the Connor campaign? I'm going to guess that for most of you guys it was just a flat no, and you didn't really elaborate any further. But
Oh, I
I
elaborated. I fucking elaborated. I said 40k is grim derp. It's not grim dark anymore. I'd soon enough fucking inject marijuana into my eyeballs than play your shitty game. I put Age of Sigmar and 40k because I didn't know which one it was. So, but I was just like, it's both cancer. You just destroyed the games. Thank you for
so
that.
a reasoned and objective response, basically.
Oh, you're reasonable. 100%.
Brian, what did you put down for that?
This is the one that, yeah, let me find it here. I can read this one out. Because this is the one that I hammered on them hard when they asked about this. I put 8th edition 40k is horrible. The rules are shallow as a mud puddle, and all the tabletop tactics are virtually non-existent. The new model kits released for 8th are not great. They are mostly monopose, hard-to-convert models that have a bad Saturday morning cartoon aesthetic. All that said, the worst is the new fluff. fluff and story. You seem to be purposely pissing on and destroying years of awesome background purely to push your new models and rules. It's pretty clear you are actively killing off all the old Space Marines and diminishing their role in all the old fluff just so you can justify no longer selling those kits and instead selling the new Primaris kits. So basically, like, to me it's total horseshit that just to justify financials and push a new model kit, you literally just like piss on all your old lore and customers. It's pretty sickening, honestly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't know what other people think.
That was a really good response, man. I can't wait until we get to the gender one. That's where I shine.
Scott, did you put down anything significant for the campaign of Connor?
No, nothing quite so eloquent. I just went with a hard no. So,
whoa,
really
settle down,
like
big boy.
I know. I really feel like I've missed a fucking opportunity. To be honest, I regret not being a little more animated with my responses.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, fuck. I wrote an essay for my answer. I said, do you really want to know? You have pushed and pushed and pushed your new lore, and it's abysmal. I'm not averse to the changes. Quite the contrary, it's good to see the plotline moving forward. But Gilliman needing an Eldar witch to cast a ritual that needs life force combined with special armor combined with the Black Legion assault, are you fucking for real? You planted the seeds of his wound healing and stasis for at least a decade, and you ignored that, and the best you could come up with was this. And then you have Gilliman and the Super Friends, Scarecrow, Tin Man and the Lion team up and take a wild journey to terror along the Warp Dust Road, only for Deus Ex Call to pop out his Super Marines with no characterization, and they're the perfect aspirants ready to go. What? Then there's the gameplay. You have a competition. You have competition now, and like you've never had before, and it's obviously the game itself. It's not that your lore changes, or your miniatures, or your ungodly prices, which made Scrooge McDuck blush, which are pushing people away. It has to be your rules. And you're right, in part, rules are important, but you didn't come in and sculpt them, polish them, here and there. You came in with a wrecking ball and destroyed the game, making it just another Age of Sigmar clone. Yes, it has different rules and styles, but the genesis is obvious, and it's not pulling from recent 40k anywhere near as much as it follows the fantasy model. It has the tactical depth of a puddle, and comes down to who gets the first turn about 97% of the time, to the degree that quitting in turn 1 is now a legitimate tactic that people will perform. So well done on that, and funny enough, the straw that breaks the camel's back was probably when you released 8th edition just a couple of months after all the Chaos and Gathering Storm books invalidating hundreds of dollars worth of products on a corporate whim.
Yep.
I'd say that's pretty well said, man.
So, we're not getting Warhammer Heroes.
Yeah, I feel like our dominations are going to get lost.
It's all in the beauty of that Warhammer Heroes thing was we're not going on the sheer number of nominations. We're just going off what we feel. That's their escape plan. Because that's all they have to do is just go, let's just ignore those ballots.
And I hope they got a good fire escape plan for their fucking building. Oh wait, what? Oh fuck, that could be considered as a threat. I mean, because it's good to have a fire plan.
I mean, there's codes for that kind of stuff,
Yes, there is. Alright, another question asked was, do you ask the Warhammer community questions? As in, through their community portal. We kind of went into
I
this
said yes,
earlier.
and you keep deleting them. I said, stop deleting our questions. It makes you look weak. Just because you cut out somebody's tongue, it doesn't show that they're wrong. It just shows that you're scared of them. And yeah, I just linked them to our fucking YouTube channel again. So, GG.
Brian, do you ask Warhammer community questions?
We may or may not have sent dozens of emails, 2 sets of cakes, phone calls, back channel connections, everything else to try to get...
We've got to elaborate on that cake thing. So for those people that don't know, your guys' channel or group, I guess, you bought cakes, put in the UK via phone, I'm guessing, or email or whatever.
Yeah.
You got FAQs for Horus Heresy put on there.
On sheet
questions.
cakes, on like
Yep.
6 or 7 sheet cakes. I don't know what it cost Michael, but it couldn't have been cheap.
Yeah, that's
So-
fucked. And they didn't answer it. In fact, Forge World apparently didn't even get the fucking cakes. Also, the people that were supposed to read it didn't get it. All the other cunts just ate it, the fat cunts. And then, you already know the ending of that.
We
They were
did
like,
send
oh,
them
it's our
emails,
policy
though,
not
like,
to take gifts.
And we know that they got them because they mentioned it, because they were live streaming at the time on Warhammer TV on the Twitch channel. And Michael got on there and asked if they enjoyed the cakes. And one of the hosts said, yes, we did enjoy the cakes. Thank you, Radio Free Isstvan, right live on their Twitch stream. So we know that they were delivered. We had pictures. The person who delivered them took pictures of the front desk people there receiving them, and they mentioned that they got them on the live stream. And we put on there that they're, because we couldn't fit the whole like FAQ questions on the cake, so we basically just sent the cakes to get attention, like to kind of be like, because like
right, like when Homer Simpson puts a fucking photo of himself and his family underneath the chocolates, and Mr. Burns eats all the chocolates except for Homer Simpson's, while covering Homer's face, and sends a thank you letter to all of the family members except for Homer. So basically, you got fucking Homer.
They didn't even get the thank you letter though.
Nice.
So
no, they did. Well, they did. He's just like, yeah, thanks for the cakes, you jackasses. And they just,
I want to
So
send. I want
anyway,
to send a cake now and send him like an erotic cake.
It started on the show because Michael was like, "How do we get these answered?" And I've been around forever, and I'm way more cynical than Michael, so I'm like, "They're not gonna get answered, sir. Like, this is how games work. This is their modus operandi. This is what they do. It's maddening." And he's like, "Oh no, we can get them to answer this and that." And so I joke, "Well, just send them a fucking barbershop quartet to fucking sing the FAQs." Well, Michael's insane, so he literally called the barbershop quartet and he was like interacting with this guy and was literally getting it done. And I'm like, well, don't do that, because that could be seen as like annoying or passive aggressive. Like, we need to do it nice. If you actually want to do it, think of a nicer way to do it. So then Michael was like, well, we could do cakes. I'm like, who doesn't like cake? And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So that's how the cake idea came about.
Probably diabetics, but see, that's where niceness gets you with Games Workshop. Okay.
Well, as I was going to
Thanks
say,
to
Due to
cake.
due
I
to the
wanted to,
high consistent. Sorry.
No, I was going to say I wanted to send him an erotic cake, like a big penis, and just write on it, because I want to give you a dick for once instead of you giving me the dick.
Or it'll be like, just give them a big set of fake lips and be like, I like to be kissed before I get fucked. Something like that. Something good. Yeah, we could just harass them consistently. That's where we're getting Patreon money now. There you
Yes,
go.
like $8 a month.
I don't know. I just try to passively enjoy heresy now. I've just kind of given up on
The thing is, though, it's not
them
like
as a whole.
it's not like people's demands are extreme. Like an FAQ, like clarifications for the rules of the game you've created, not that extreme. Like, let's say you release a computer game, right?
That's why we just did that episode of I went on I Have Horus with Tim and Michael, and we wanted to demonstrate, like, we literally did the FAQs live on air. Like, they had never seen the questions before. I'd written the questions, but I'd never attempted to answer them. I don't really feel like that's, because to be honest, like, most of those questions, I don't even really care how they're answered. It's just nice to have the answer, so when you play the game, it goes smooth, and when somebody asks, you have an answer. You don't, you can just move on with your game, and it makes the game go smooth.
Yeah, playing from the same sheet of music. That's a good point.
But then
Right,
they
and
answer
then-
the wrong shit, like, you're infiltrating fucking bunker lists. It's like, really? That was the best fucking answer that you came up with? Was that needed to be answered?
Yeah.
Not like all the other shit? But it's like, oh, no, you can't have an infiltrating army of bastions. It's like, oh,
Okay, I might not
damn.
be able to have an infiltrating army of bastions, but can they infiltrate? It's like, what the fuck?
But,
That was
but
the next
anyway,
question.
we did the entire FAQ live on air with discussion. We basically just did a majority vote, so like, because there's 3 of us, and like Tim would read the question off. We would discuss it a little bit, unless it was just super easy, like something that's like pretty obvious. We would just say, whatever. But if it was something serious, we'd discuss it a little bit, and we'd come up with an answer and move on. And it took 2 hours, a little over 2 hours to do that. And then the next day, I typed up all the answers that we went over on the show, and then made it into a nice Word document, and then sent it to one of our patron guys, Andy. And Andy, who's much better at grammar than my hillbilly ass, went through and corrected all my horrible spelling and grammar and all that, and made it nice and legible, and sent it back to me, and I sent it to Tim. And all of this, if you add in Andy's time to fix it, my time to type it, and then our time to record it, it was a total of 7 hours.
Well, you see, they get paid for 8 hours a day, I'm guessing, to not do that.
Well, fuck, didn't they say the new Gilliman 40K model took like fucking 3,000 hours to complete or some shit?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
Magnus the Red.
Is he doing it with his hands tied behind his fucking back, or what the
Yeah, I was
fuck?
about to say, it seems high. I don't know a lot about 3D printing, but it seems like there's a
It's just
way to do
3D
that.
printed.
We did work it out when that White Dwarf came out. Fuck, I gotta find it. I was with Dean Ferguson at his place in Townsville, and we worked it out. It was like, would have taken like nearly 2 years or something at the amount of hours he quoted if he worked every single day of the year for 8 hours a day. It's like, hang on a minute. You're full of shit. Like, you know, and then, like, same thing with, like, Gilliman coming back, though. They're like, oh, you know, we really looked around at which Loyalist Primarch to bring back. So, no, you didn't.
It's like, I know.
Don't piss on my head and call it
which one.
rain. We know exactly that was who you'd bring back. You're not going to tell me that, like, there was serious discussions about bringing back, you know, Jagatai Khan.
Yeah. Here comes Korax. Like, no one gives a
Like,
fuck.
that'd be
Who
so
plays
dumb,
Rainbow?
especially with the PUBG, with China obviously getting access to Steam for computers, and now they're infested every single fucking platform in existence of gaming. With Jagatai Khan and his freaking chapter coming along, China #1. Sorry, White Scar #1. No, White Scar #1. It's just not gonna happen, mate.
Yeah, but, you know, like,
Yeah, no way.
corporate bullshit, it's, yeah, I don't know. It pisses me off. I think Ryan and I sort of answered that question as well earlier when we were saying that we give them questions, they give out answers occasionally, but they don't write the fucking answers down. It's like all they got to do is write the answers down. And that just came across as one of those questions that was written by the Warhammer community team to justify the Warhammer community team's existence. So, yeah. Oh, okay. What best describes your gender?
I put cuttlefish. That's my answer. Whenever anybody asks me my gender, I put cuttlefish.
Scott?
Demisexual.
Nice.
There. Yeah.
Cat?
I've actually put it on Forge World's website as well, not website, but their Facebook page, for their post yesterday about the actual survey. So it goes like this: I sexually identify as a Sicarian battle tank. Ever since I was a boy, I dreamed of driving over worlds, dropping hot, sticky loads of disgusting loyalists. People say to me that a person being a Sicarian battle tank is impossible, and I'm fucking retarded. But I don't care. I'm beautiful. I'm having a plastic surgeon install open core plasma ion seer, twin accelerator, autocannons, and sponson heavy bolters on my body. From now on, I want to be you guys to call me Sicarian, and respect my right to kill and kill needlessly. If you can't accept me, you're a tankophobe and need to check your vehicle privilege. Thank you for being so understanding.
You're so brave, man.
Yeah, man. It takes a lot to come out, you know,
I
be
can only
a
imagine.
Sicarian battle tank, especially now with plasma, with melter bombs, obviously
know. Jesus.
wrecking the game apparently. But
The lazy heresy fucking Mothra thing.
hashtag make heresy 8 again, so it's just 40k. What the fuck?
Let
Get
me
that out of your ass.
real quick ask you, Scott. We never stopped playing multi-bombing, correct?
No.
And me and you played against each other several times, or watched each other play, or been on the same team and all that, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
How
we never
many-
did either in
How
our.
many times have you either killed or had your tanks killed by veterans wielding melta-bombs?
Out of, let's say I've played 50 Heresy games at our game club, I would say maybe 5. There you have it. So what's that, 10%? Something like that?
Yeah, my number's less than that. I've killed things with multi-bombing, but it's always been out.
Well, I'm a pretty bad fucking player, so I might not be the best. Just ask about that, but not much.
Yeah. Anyway, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it's not game breaking, is it?
No.
Depends on who you are, I guess.
Depends on who you face. You think you're going to be pulling off much multi-bombing against Raven Guard? Maybe they're drop pods.
Yep.
You're not going to be throwing them at fucking infantry when they're shredding your ass with lightning claws.
No, if you're talking about the competitive scene of Heresy, whatever the fuck that is, I don't think you'll be seeing lots of Raven Guard. All you see is Cuckstodes and freaking Mechanicum, so whatever.
Well, I just describe my gender as a salt-based life form.
It's fair.
It was a thing in like one of the earliest episodes of the original Star Trek series, where they come across this thing that just sucks like all the salt out of your body. This alien chick. But, yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you would like us to know? Us being Games Workshop. Did anyone give them an interesting answer for that?
Yeah, I said, could you please give the Outer Circle a budget so they can report more on your very shady doings? And gave them our details to contact us to send us some cash. So yeah, people deserve to know, man. Unbiased,
Checks in the mail.
honest, professional journalism
I
is
think
what's
I can
missing.
see a Black Hawk in my backyard deploying lawyers as we speak. So
Yeah, I want to see how far I can push them.
yeah, nah. So you're really pushing for that Warhammer Community Hero thing, I see.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I voted for him.
I think I'm number one at the moment. I have to be at least, right?
I
mean,
think I
he's-
did.
I
I
I'm
vote
like-
for Cat as well, and I didn't even know.
Man, who's not going to vote for me? Who's not voting for Cat? I am the Townsville. I think from like 2010 to 2013, freaking Wagga Wagga 40k champion of 40k. Like you cannot, no one can even come close to my tactical genius. And,
You,
like,
you hid your assassins in 3 land raiders against my demon army for 6 turns.
yeah, you got wrecked, mate.
He literally did that. He had an army of Death Cult assassins, and I had an army of Khorne demons. I deployed like 60 or 70 bloodletters on the table, a whole bunch of blood crushers, the skull taker, flesh hounds. He's like, yeah, I'm staying in the fucking vehicles.
Yeah, and I think I like
And he won.
got
He won. Cause
every freaking fucking everything.
Yeah.
I won, yeah, every tactical thing. Yep.
Because you parked on top of the objectives with the land raiders, and I could just not get them off objectives, and they were scoring, so it was like, oh, well.
Oh, that's right, because you couldn't actually get to the objective because the Land Raider was too big for you to be within
Yes, I couldn't
the
contest
objective.
it.
Right, I remember that now. Yeah, yeah. Tactical fucking genius, man. Oh man, I've got this in the bag. Oh man, I'm gonna have to work on my acceptance speech. Hey, I have to get a song. I'll get a song. Wow, I can't wait. What about you guys? Did you guys just say? Did you just send up a bill for like your cake or something, or what?
What's that?
You're T-painting a little bit. You're T-painting.
Yeah, you're remixing on us.
That's that,
Can you hear me now?
yeah.
If
Yeah,
if it was the question that anything else you would like us to know, I told them I think something along the lines of parody is a good thing. You know, there's a lot of like people who want, especially Heresy, to be under the same rule set as 8th edition, 40k. I'm a big believer in parity, you know, in your offerings, and I think it's a good thing. They're separate rule sets because that gives people avenues to go where they can go and play a different game if they, like us, who don't enjoy that style of rule set. So I think it kind of makes sense to me that you would want as many different options as possible so people can indulge in your product. Yeah, I think that's all I really offered on.
What about you, Ryan? Have you fixed the internet out there in rural bumfuck?
He's dead.
Can you hear me now, or am I still Mad Maxing or Max Head Droming?
Oh, we can hear you.
Okay, so I basically, like Scott, told him to keep heresy separate. If you listen to the FAQ episode, I listened back to it just to hear what the audio quality was, and just to hear, because some of the when I record with Tim and Michael, there's like a delay, kind of like there is when I'm recording right now, because of, the distance, and we walk on each other, and it's obviously not on purpose. We're not trying to be rude or whatever, but it's because there's a delay. So I don't always hear some of the things that other people say when I record like that. So I like to go back and, listen to it if I have time. And I noticed that there was tons of questions where I was like, well, this wasn't a question when they wrote the rule, but because 40K changed this, or because they changed edition, or because this book came out, it became like it was fine, and then a different studio that has nothing to do with Forge World basically moved the goalpost, and then it became a problem. So for people who want it to be the same, imagine with the drastic changes that literally happen every week in 8th, imagine trying to play Heresy under that scenario. Like, imagine if they would have already come out with indexes, we're playing on that, then they try to do red books, then Chapter Approved comes out, then all these, because, even before, when the releases weren't so rapid fire, when they would drop something for 40K, there was all these people that would always question whether or not you could use that in 30K. Like Death from the Skies, the 7th edition FAQ, which, fucked over multi-bombing and all that. When you don't separate it like that and you have them tied together, you have one studio that moves at a much more rapid pace that's only paying attention to their game, that blindly alter this other game system that they don't have anything to do with and don't care about. I just can't imagine why that's a good scenario or why people want that.
Well, especially with Games Workshop's sort of... they got this penchant for just coming up with random ways of changing the gameplay that don't need changing. Like, I was talking about it the other day, I think it was with you, Ryan, and just like people going, oh man, it was so fucked in 7th edition having to work out like blast templates and spacing out infantry so they didn't get hit by blast. That system's so lame, it just took up so much time in the movement phase. But I'll tell you what has really improved the game. Having individual movement stats for units, and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Movement was one of the best, smoothest functioning phases in Warhammer. It was everything moved 6 or up to 12 if it was like cavalry or that kind of thing. And then they introduced flyers, and that made it a little bit more difficult, but it's still pretty smooth. And then they release fucking 8th edition. It's like, oh, well, now this unit moves 5, and this one moves 7. It's like, what the fuck? That system is not the system that needs fixing. Parts you need to fix are things like psychic phase. Straight off the bat, that's fucked. Fix that. And they're like, oh, no. Individual movement values, that's where it's at. It's like, really? That's... It's like an obsessive... I was gonna say, it's like an obsessive compulsive person. They keep like trying to... They see like a smear, and they keep trying to get the smear off. And so they just like keep rubbing it, trying to get this one little smear off, and they can't quite fucking do it. And there's like a big fucking stain behind them, but they're so focused on that little smear.
Being around Heresy from the beginning, I had to go through the 6th to 7th change. Then, you got Death from the Skies. Then you got the fucking FAQ thing. Then you had where they redid Marines and all these new psychic powers. And there were people that actually wanted to use those new psychic disciplines in 30K. And then like the change from 6th to 7th, they had demonology, so now all of a sudden you got fucking demon summoning and weird shit. It's like, I just don't understand why people want to go back to that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you want in the just absolutely Wild West fucking chaos that you literally are waiting for the hammer to drop every Wednesday? A fucking design studio to change something that fucks with your game.
I think my biggest thing is the people who want Heresy to go the route of 8th edition. It seems like a very selfish pursuit to me. So it is people who have a game that they enjoy and have a rule set that they indulge in. And most of the models, even if they were former Heresy players, they have those models, and those models have rules in the game system they enjoy, but that's not good enough. They want to take it that extra inch and have Heresy become a rule set that they enjoy, so everyone else who has a contrary opinion, like us, gets fucked over. And that seems incredibly... It's like, that's a great metaphor for the level of maturity in most of the 40K community. And I'm not saying everybody, but most of them, that's exactly how they think. They don't give a fuck.
Well,
They're narcissists, so...
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I guess they could say the same thing, that being hypocritical, like they're just going to say, well, you want it to stay the same, but I get what you're saying, because it was always this way. Like, we don't... This is the game we were playing, and you were playing too, and...
Ryan has almost left the planet.
Whenever it came out...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You can't hear me again?
There you go.
Oh, you're just cutting in and out of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. All I'm saying is...
Yeah, I'm melting.
Oh, God damn it.
But the thing is, man, with it, I just think it makes a lot more sense, and it's going to create a lot less problems for a lot more people if you have the option to have either. So yeah, hey, we can play Heresy in this rule set, and you can play 40K in that rule set. And if you have a Heresy army and you want to play 40K now, those models have rules in 40K almost universally. Some of them don't, sure, but most of them do. And I'm sure you can figure it out, just like we have had to for so fucking long figure our own shit out. So I just don't get it, man. I think really all the unrest and like the upheaval, or I don't know, that might be a strong word for it, given the people we're dealing with, but what's going on like online with people trying to generate unrest between Heresy not going to 8th, it's a very selfish thing to do, I would think. And if it's people who really legitimately believe in their community and actually give a shit about the people who play in it, they'll understand that having more options is probably better than having less.
Well, one of the big things I think about with that is the logistics behind it. Like, when Book 3 dropped, it was only a week before 7th edition dropped. And 7th edition pretty much fucked the Heresy hard, sideways, in many different units and rules. Yeah. For a good 6 months there. And it was like 6 or 12 months before they even got an FAQ out. Like, it took them that long to produce an FAQ, which is just... That was pathetic. Because that was something so simple, they should have been able to knock out a simple FAQ within a couple of weeks. You know, just like a computer game, you don't try and find a patch that solves all your problems at once. You just try and fix each problem as quickly as you can. And, you know, alright, we've got to fix for this. Bam, there it is. Alright, next problem. Alright, now we fix that. And that logical solve everything one step at a time. You know, The Martian, like the movie The Martian. One problem comes up, you come up with a solution to it, then you move to the next most important problem. And they don't do that. And it's like, if it takes them 6 months to just figure out how to like reword how Lorgar and Sevatar and Typhus's psychic powers work, and a couple of other units, imagine how bad it would be at now. You've got more than double the amount of books, more than double the amount of units, and not only do you have to move that shit over, but you've got to completely rejig everything for a completely different set of rules. That is a nightmare. And then on top of that, you're invalidating all the hard copies of books that people have bought. And these aren't codexes.
No, these are not $50 little fuck-off books that you buy for $40K. And by the way, if you're a $40K player and you're still buying hardback copies of fucking books and shit, lose my number. Because your fucking codexes get updated every week. Why in the fuck would you ever buy an actual physical codex anymore from those people? You know?
Yeah. Well, the argument that they kept trying to make. Can you hear me, or am I still cutting in and out?
Yeah,
You're
we can hear
good.
you.
They tried to say, like, well, those books are mostly fluff, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, look, it's going to kill the value on them. And then whenever they switched over to the 8th, we went to a event in Michigan literally like a month later. And the store that we went to had a bunch of Imperial Armor books, and they were all $15 or less. And they were brand new. When you opened them up, the spines creaked. That's how new they were. And they had them marked down to $15. It just slaughtered the value.
And someone would have paid full price for them 2 weeks early. But again, that was one of the things I complained about was the Gathering Storm books and the Wrath of Magnus and all that kind of thing, all outdated within 6 months, not even 6 months.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh well, if you purchased only 3 months ago, then we'll give you some like pathetic fucking voucher. It's like what?
Well,
Two things. Because the difference between that, right, and other things is you can't necessarily go back to a previous edition. You can't say, oh, I liked 7th Ed more, so now I'm going to run my Mortarian Demon Primarch in 7th Ed. You can't. There's no rules. You would literally have to make all the rules up for him and then try and like figure it out for yourself how to move him in. It's not like where you can turn around and say, hey, I want to play a game of 4th edition 40k. And someone goes, oh, yeah, no, that's fine, man. And you grab out your 4th Ed codexes and all your rules are there. No, they've got characters and rules and units that are now split over 2 completely different systems that just do not coexist. And it's mind-boggling that that's the approach they took. And especially now that several of their staff have turned around openly and said, oh yeah, killing off the old world in Warhammer Fantasy was a bad idea. It's like, really? Really? You think so? Where were you fucking 3 years ago when you did it then?
They were holding the knife. They're all too busy stabbing Caesar.
What I was saying earlier when I was cutting up was all these people that wanted to move to 8th or whatever, like if you went and like found them 1 month before there was even leaks of 8th edition and asked them what they thought about Heresy, they would rant and rave and be ecstatic about how awesome it was and couldn't really find any faults in it. Then all of a sudden 8th gets released and it's the worst thing ever. It doesn't make any sense.
Yep, Tim from the IFRS podcast says, no one can tell me what they like, or why Heresy should go to 8th edition other than they don't want to learn 2 rule sets. So, yeah, I don't know. In the comments, if someone could give an actual reason in the comments for us to seriously have a look at why you think that Heresy should go to 8th, that would be...
And there's people who present the idea that having 2 different rule sets is going to hamper new players coming into Heresy. Heresy does not function off an influx of middle schoolers playing Heresy. Heresy is too expensive for that. It is boutique. It is almost elitist in a way that we hold ourselves to a standard and we enforce that standard at our events. That's what makes it great and better than the other bullshit that's out there. So the idea that it being separate rule sets hampers new players playing, good, man. If they're not willing to put in the fucking effort, I don't want them to play them. I don't give a fuck about them. Fuck them. Like, why would I ever give a fuck about, playing with someone who, if they can't put forth that effort of learning a new rule set, they're not going to paint their shit well. All right, they're not going to build a fluffy army. They're going to be a fucking asshole. So I'm kind of glad there's 2 different rule sets that can thin out those people who are lazy as fuck and shitty. I just I don't see the problem.
One of the big things people said was there was like this huge exodus of people from Heresy to 40k 8th edition when it came out. So I didn't see a big exodus. I saw a couple of moans and groans in the community, but like the most recent poll I saw on the Eye of Horus was like 3/4 of the community, literally 3/4 of the community was like, yeah, we prefer 7th, and there's 1/4 it's like, oh no, it should be 8th. It's like, well, okay, so the majority still wants it to be this thing, and people are like, oh yeah, but what about 40k players? It's like, they've got their game. If you make Heresy into 8th, you're just making 8th as a rule set bigger. That's all it's achieving, and the niche that is the Heresy completely goes. And you're not providing for the people who want that kind of game. Same as Warhammer Fantasy. When Fantasy was killed, the refugees, as I'm going to call them, they had two choices: go to Warhammer 40k, or go to Horus Heresy. And many chose to go to the Heresy because that was a much.
I chose Kings of War.
Well, I'll get to that, but like, as far as the Citadel game goes, that's your two choices because they're the next closest things to fantasy, and of course, Horus Heresy much closer to the old style of fantasy with the bigger units, the crazy war machines, that kind of thing, without going into the grim derp of 40k, because Heresy's a lot more strategic. And then what happens is 8th Ed comes along, and now the people who like that, old school approach of Games Workshop and the way movement works and the way terrain works, and they've got one choice left, that's Heresy. That community likes that gameplay. They like that style of game. You cut them off from that, they will be gone from Games Workshop completely. And plenty of people already pulled that card. They already said, I'm done with Games Workshop when Sigmar happened. And they went off and they did Kings of War. Or Specialist Games is the big one, because that's where it happened first. Games like Dreadball, Dystopian Wars, Drop Zone Commander, all these games exist because Games Workshop left a niche there for them to exist by killing the games that people loved. And the same thing is happening now. I'm not saying 8th edition is terrible and the worst fucking thing ever. It's not the worst fucking thing ever. But when 8th edition comes about, the people who aren't interested in it are not going to hang around. And if you give them no other alternatives, why the fuck will they hang around your company at all? I guess is the point I'm getting at.
Exactly. Yep. I couldn't agree more. I think that's the most pertinent thing to be said is like, there's nothing wrong with having the option there. And the people who are in favor of removing that option are petulant. There's no other way to describe them. Like, that's the best word you can use. They're petulant. They want to feel like they have some kind of moral high ground in a company that they have no invested interest in making a decision that supports their opinion. And that seems so fruitless to me. I don't know why. Like, I don't know whose life lacks that much validation, but it's crazy that someone would think that way. But that's exactly what it is.
Well, it's the same as these people that turn around and they say, Heresy should go to 8th edition. Oh, you're not going to get my dollars, Forge World, until you go to 8th edition. It's like, great, what about all those other people? Like, you're not presenting other people's opinions. And that's why there's a hard pushback towards these pro 8th edition people, is because they're pushing an agenda that nobody else really agrees with, or let's be generous and say a quarter of the community agrees with. If that's the only voices that Games Workshop hears, they could potentially act on that. And that's a worrying thing for those of us who aren't fans of 8th.
I agree. And I think it's very damning that people would do that. Like, you must really lack any sort of sense of community, which seems insane because that's what the Heresy is. Like, it is smaller, boutique, and niche, and most of us know each other, but that's kind of what makes it great, is we do have that familiarity, and you do know more or less who you're getting across the table from you, which you're not going to get that anywhere else in 40K. I don't give a fuck what you say. So, I don't know why anyone would, feel that taking that option away from people is a good way to go.
What's more disturbing about that is the fact that these people are turning around and it's like, it's too late now. It's too late. They're just about to release a rulebook for 7th edition for the Heresy. They're not gonna just fucking pull it from the printers now that it's there, for take 2, and turn around and say, oh, well, people said, oh, they like 8th edition, so let's just pull it completely, fuck the 7th ed rule set, and let's bring this in. It's not going to happen. They just have to accept it's over.
Right.
You've lost, and bringing it up now is just divisive to the community.
Well, and that's the thing that's crazy to me is because I fucking quit Heresy there for like 3 weeks when that email came out that said, hey, we're switching. And I thought everybody thought it was switching, and I had no interest in it. And I've said this before, like, people are like, well, you were a crybaby, you were that, like, I literally just went in and unliked all the 30K pages and put my armies up for sale and started playing other games. There's nothing crybaby about that. I fucking walked. I said I would walk, and I walked. Like, I wasn't gonna hang around
No,
and linger.
that's putting your fucking money where your mouth is. That's all that is. Because
yeah, like
why should you hang around for something you don't like?
No,
Right.
definitely, that's a good standard. You should do the same thing in a relationship. You need to have your left and right of arc, and you got to tell if it's anything in a friendship or in a business relationship, what is what you'll accept and what you won't, and that's great. And you followed your own standards. Unlike Games Workshop, they don't follow their fucking standards. They don't have any fucking standards other than fucking ripping cunts off. But yeah, at least you definitely stood by your own convictions. That's awesome. So I wish there was more of that in the world.
How much, Ryan, let me ask you this. How much time did you spend on 40K group pages complaining that 40K had gone to 8th edition?
0.
How many posts did you put up?
0 on 40K
weird.
pages. 0.
Weird. How very funny. How odd.
I mean, obviously, when it was.
See, I'm not goddamn Sherlock Holmes, but I seem to have found an outlier.
I mean, I put them on, like, when we weren't sure whether it was changing or not, and then even a little bit after it changed, just because, like, before the official announcement, when there was argument over should it go 8, should whatever, I chimed in there, but that was particularly pertaining to 30K when there was a fight to be had.
Right.
I mean, you were in my game club. I even told you guys, I mean, you lived it with me. I said, look, I'm not gonna play Games Workshop games anymore. You guys can still fucking come here and play. I'm not, like, throwing away my terrain or quit running the club or taking my ball and going home. Like, for you guys, literally nothing will change other than I'm going to just focus on playing X-Wing, Dark Age, these other games that I got. That's exactly what happened. I mean, it was for a short period of time, but I mean, did I, like, tell everyone to fuck off, and then if you played 8th edition or Heresy and, like, that you can't come over anymore and all, like, did I do any of that?
No, and the thing is, I'm pretty good at taking a step back and looking at things objectively, and I haven't really seen anyone lord it over anyone else that things stayed 7th the way we wanted it to. It didn't go the way other people wanted it to, but it's always those 40K, like, 8th edition flat earthers who like to come out and try to inject some sort of controversy into a community because they're petulant. They're fucking butthurt that things didn't go their way. And now they're going to cry about it because the space social media offers them gives them safety in their shitty fucking retarded opinion.
Well, even us, like, I talk about 40K a lot because it's a game I did once really love, and I'm just seeing it.
Absolutely.
It's like a fucking brother of mine who's, like, fucking all messed up on drugs, and I want to help them. And they keep hurting themselves, you know? Like, he's doing bad with his life. And it's like, I want to suggest fixes 40K, but at no point have I said, 8th is so shit you need to revert to 7th. I've let it be. And that's the difference. I don't go in there saying everything needs to change to this other system. I'm just like, well, I don't like 8th, but it's here. And I accept that. But here's some hints about things I would fix going forward. And that's my official stance on that. And you don't see Heresy players all going over to 40K pages and saying, man, don't you guys just hate that you've got 8th? Okay, see you, bye. It's a completely different mindset. And then all of a sudden there's this random fucking group in the Heresy community that come out and they're like, well, I think it was a bad decision for Forge World to stay in Heresy. It's like, do you? That's fucking great. Take your opinion and insert it rectumly.
Yeah, I had a 40K army when they switched to 8th, and I sold that army when it switched, and I gained a working, functioning knowledge of the rule set, and I never said anything else about it. I'm like, okay, this isn't for me. That's fine. I'm going to make some money from this, and I'm going to move on. I never bitched at anybody, and I don't blame anybody. If it's what they enjoy, it's what they fucking enjoy. What you do in your free time is on you. But there is a very unique set of people in the Heresy community who are trying to, like, shit on this sense of unity I think that 7th edition rulebook is going to bring. I don't think it's going to work because the strength of the community is kind of what makes Heresy function so well, even on an international level. So,
they're not even shitting on it though. It's just they come across as just, like, pissed off that they didn't get their way because a lot of people, I'm not going to name names, Lego, You're cool, man. But they put their eggs in the 8th basket. They were so certain it was coming to 8th, and they hyped themselves up for it. And they went out there and made posts about how great 8th is going to be for the Heresy, and did the big sell, and then it didn't happen. And now they feel a bit embarrassed by it, I think. Like they threw all their eggs in that basket and said, this is going to be so much better for the Heresy than 7th. 7th's a piece of shit. And it's like, if your mate has a girlfriend and he breaks up with her and everyone's like, oh, she was a piece of shit anyway, and he gets back with her, and then it's just awkward. It's like that. He's like, oh, yeah, no, fuck.
You just got to let it go, man. You just got to fucking let it go.
I think that was the problem, is the debate got so heated on, like, before it was final, like, people, like, got so polarized that then when the result was final, it looked weird for them to walk back that polarization, and they don't want to do it because it's not in, like, human beings don't want to do that. You really don't want to admit that you were wrong or on the losing side. You just don't.
Yeah, and it's totally understandable. Like, I get where they're coming from in that case, but, because I was pissed that it was going to go to 8th there. But at the same time, I was like, oh, I'm willing to give it a go. And then it didn't, and I was just like, oh, thank fucking God. Because it's just nothing... And this is the big kicker for me personally. Nothing appealed to me about the 8th edition rule set. Therefore, why would I want it?
Yeah, feel the same way. Well, I mean,
Right.
That's like, I had all my armies up and shit for sale. I just would have sold it, made a decent amount of... I mean, I feel like all my shit's well painted. I've won tons of awards at Adepticon, got fucking medals and shit. I mean, I feel like I could sell that stuff and made decent money on it, and then just, spend it on my wife, fucking bought new game, like, for different games, whatever. I mean, I want Heresy to stay the way it is, but I've even told people going forward, like, I already had the big fight before. Like, if it ever comes up again where, it may change or what, I mean, I'll put my opinion forward saying, look, I don't want it to change. I want it to be this way. But if it does, I'll just walk away again. Like, it is what it is. Like, there's plenty of other games for me to play. I've very invested in Heresy. I feel like I've personally put in a lot of work to try to grow the community, help people out, meet new people. I painted tons of armies. I put effort into it. It's not just something like, it's like a hobby that I'm passionate about. So, I put a lot of effort into it. So, I mean, I do care, but I mean, like, at this point, I'm just kind of fucking over fighting about it. Like, if they fucking want to change it, like, I don't want that to happen, but if it does, like I said, I'll just fucking walk. I mean, I'm not going to stick around for Games Workshop to continually fuck me over. They've pushed me. This is like my last trench that I'm defending. You know what I mean? That's it. I got a pile of stockpiled ammo behind me, and nothing else. Like, my back's against the wall. Like, this is it. Like, I'm defending that. Once that's done, it's fucking done. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any desire to try any of these other games just because of how many times I've been fucked over in the past, and how they run their company, and how they try to always milk you for more money, and how they just constantly keep things in flux and changing things, not to actually better them, but just to wring more money out of you.
It's got a very experimental mindset to their development of the games. But, I'm in a similar place. I'm probably in the second last trench between Horus Heresy and Specialist Games. And it's like, that's it. That's all they've got. And I've diversified. Diversify your bonds, man. You got to diversify that shit. I've got a Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones game, coming up. I've also got Drop Zone Commander. So there's 2 decent games right there that I can fall back onto for tabletop wargaming. And failing that, I'd probably just be happy painting fucking panzers and counting rivets. So...
Yeah, I was looking at Bold Action. I would probably jump into Bold. Like, I don't have room for another game because I already play fucking Heresy, Dark Age. I got a bunch of Battletech shit. I got a bunch of X-Wing shit. I got Kings of War, and I enjoy and play all that stuff. I mean, Heresy's my main game, but I like all that other stuff. But if it went away and I wanted something that was like more of a... Because all that other shit's like more skirmish level, except for Kings of War. But it's like a totally different fantasy genre. If I wanted something more in the modern or sci-fi thing, I'd probably get into Bold Action or Dust or something like that.
Yeah, Yeah, I could see that. So, fuck, I think we've all had our say. It's been quite a big episode. Anything you'd like to say to our lovely guest, Cat?
Just thanks for coming on. And yeah, it's that whole ANZUS has never been stronger with heresy now. It's made the community stronger. I for one welcome the segregation of 40k players and the heresy players. There's no more fucking 30k, 40k, 90210 bullshit. So I'm happy with that. It's pushed out a lot of the shit from the community anyway. So it's really good. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and hopefully one day me and Macca can come up to the States, across
Vegas
to the States, and yeah, sick. Vegas,
Come
yeah,
to
it's just
Vegas.
pretty. Yeah, man, it's just probably bring my plate carrier as well, huh?
Some fucking illicit drug use, yes. Some human trafficking. We can hit all those bases. There's no problem.
We can hit all the home runs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate having you guys on, because it's great to bounce ideas off other people. You know, that cross-Pacific heresy relationship, it's strong, man. It's strong, Americans and Australians. And again, it's something different for people who hear our episodes. This is a little bit different to our normal episodes, and it's a little different to your normal episodes. And different is good. Not 8th edition different, that's bad. But yeah, this is fun. So it was great to have you guys.
This is the only place I ever end up talking about 40k, because you get me on here and ask me my questions, and then I can't help but spew them out. It's like that meme, the vegan meme. I've not told anybody I'm vegan in 10 minutes. Like on RFI, I just try to avoid it. Like they'll bring up, like somebody will want to bring up, like, did you see they released? And I'm just like, I'll just be quiet. Like they're always like, well, I know Ryan. Like Ryan doesn't want to talk about it, because I honestly just don't even. Because I like 40k to me is fucking dead. I've sold all my 40k shit except my orc stuff, because I still I just built like a Gorka Morka fort and shit, and I want to play some Gorka Morka, so I have my
We
orcs.
still play with your orc shit. Like we can still mod that out and play it in Heresy.
Yeah, we did. Me and Scott have done that a couple times. We played as Iron Hands against my orcs, and it was pretty fun. I felt like it was pretty balanced.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like, it wasn't like I felt like it was pretty fair.
It's a very thematic game too. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's not bad. Like, but I mean, I'm not a fan of 8th, and I'm definitely not a fan of the direction they're taking 40k. And I mean, if somebody asks me, I'll tell them, but I don't lose any fucking sleep over it. I don't care. I don't go on 40k forums and bitch about it. If somebody says they play 40k, I don't, like, I bust my friends' balls, you know what I mean? But I don't, like, go up to strangers or walk up to somebody in a game store and fucking kick their chair out from underneath them. Be like, you asshole playing 40k. Like, I don't, like, fuck, like, I don't care. I really don't care. Like you guys said, it's nice that the games are separate now, because now I don't have to fight with those people, or, like, really, like, they have their thing and we have ours, and I don't feel like we have to attack each other. Like, there's just no reason for that. Like, let them enjoy it and let us enjoy ours. Just, you know, leave us alone. You do your thing, we'll do ours. You know, if you want to play both, play both. If you want one or the other, play one or the other, and let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's the right mindset to have too. So, Scott, any last thoughts?
I think that's it, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's always fun. I'll fucking see Ryan pretty soon here. Game night's tomorrow night, so we'll make the pilgrimage to USA 30K Mecca. And anybody else out there that listens, if you're going to the Las Vegas Open, I just bought tickets, so I'll fucking see you there. I might be a little. I've become aware of their herbal policy in Las Vegas, so I might be a little under the influence, but you know, forgive me if that's the case.
I'm still on the fence about going. I want to go, but I have to monitor my vacation days closely at work with all this other heresy shit going on. Like, I don't want to, you know, blow my proverbial load early in the year and not be able to go to events at the end of the year.
Right.
So, but man, I'm really, really, really kicking it around. So I'm hoping I get to go too. But I don't know. I got some other shit financially going on that Scott's aware of that Skunk Works that I don't know that I can afford a trip to Vegas because of something, you know, around our club that would help our club a lot more that I could put that money towards.
You're investing all of the money into Bitcoin. Good move.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm building a bronze statue to Cat in my yard to try to help him win.
with
The,
Warhammer Hero emblazoned on it.
Oh, yeah.
Remember what I just said about putting all your eggs in one basket, Ryan? I don't know that the... Because who was it that did that really dumb decision? It was Detroit, wasn't it? Did the fucking town that's broke and spent all their fucking money on a RoboCop statue? Like a 12-foot tall RoboCop statue.
I mean,
That was Detroit. There's also a town in Kentucky that is broke because they spent all their money on a life-size version of Noah's Ark. Real thing, I swear to
Oh,
fucking Christ.
yeah, and you know what's worse? It was an Australian guy whose idea that was. So don't we look
he was
fucking
just
dumb.
trolling. He was just making a joke, and everyone took him literally.
No,
now we
it's
have a...
fucking Ken Ham, and he's a fucking moron.
well, it's right outside the Young Earth Christian Museum. So
Oh, I think they found the person to do 9th edition then.
You know what
We
the
found
best
it,
part of
yeah.
that was, though? It was like Noah's Ark took him, what was it, like fucking 15 years or something to make, or 10 years?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Pretty long time.
It was like it took him like 10 years to make it with all modern fucking equipment and cranes and all this shit and like 1,000-man workforce. And it's like, yeah, nah, some old cunt with a beard knocked it up in his backyard. It's like, fucking what? Fucking what? Like, seriously. It was like the
Was
biggest
Noah retarded? Is that what is wrong with him?
Yeah, was he like
Did
drunk
Noah
when he
have
pasted
autism?
out? He's like, oh, that's about like 70 cubits, fuck it, and then just passed out in the fucking deck. It's like, she's a massive boat, you know, he's just absolutely shit-faced and stole some cunt's boat and then had to, like, justify it. Oh, no, it was like a big fucking flood, and I had animals, man, I'm telling you, there was animals. And the cops are like, sir, are you intoxicated? No. Fucking God spoke to me, man.
That's all good.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, guys, and definitely plug your show one last time so people know where to find you.
go ahead, Scott.
Radio Free Isstvan, guys. We're on Facebook. We're on iTunes. We post an episode every week. Usually record it Sunday, and it's up by at the latest Wednesday, typically. So tune in, check us out, like us on Facebook. We try to post as much hobby progress between the hosts as we can up there. So if nothing else, there should be pretty pictures. That's about it.
And it's a fun show, and they're a lot less cynical than us. That said, they're still cynical, just less. So
Just less.
We just don't show it on there. We come on here and
Yeah.
and
this is a
we
safe
save it all
space.
for here.
This is a safe space for cynical cunts.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, thanks everyone for listening to the show, and we'll see you all next time.